everyone, and welcome to the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for December 8th, 2020. This evening, this is a work session. We have a full agenda nonetheless. A lot to do here. We'll get started. First, we have our administrative applications and variances without a hearing. The first is Ellsworth and Diane Erb at 31 Fentwood Road, Montauk, tax map number 300-19-01-12. And this is a basement and exterior stairs to a detached garage. And planner Tyler Borsak is going to walk us through this. If you would, Tyler, please.
Excuse me, absolutely.
Thank you.
So many of the board members will probably recognize this property. It was in front of the board not long ago. And then they came back somewhat recently as a modification for the garage into this detached garage here. I'm sorry, the basement into the detached garage here. Hopefully you can see where I'm showing.
Yeah.
And the board and the planning department at that time felt that it was a bit too much for a modification, but it certainly could come back as a new application, which is what the board, agreed with. I've shown the area here, which is within jurisdiction, which is roughly 200 square feet. This is the 150-foot line. So most of this, structure is outside of jurisdiction, actually. What they're proposing is cellar entrance, which is outside of jurisdiction, into a full basement for storage. If I remember correctly, the detached garage was mostly going to be used as like a work area for the homeowner. So I would imagine they just need additional storage in the basement for whatever that work area is going to be. It's 136 feet from the edge of wetlands. It's essentially a structure that's already been approved. They just want to put a basement on it.
Okay, thank you, Tyler. Terry, Ed?
Is there anything else they could do with this in the future? Is there, as a garage, it's not entitled to water, right?
Right. Yeah. The only accessory structures that are allowed to have any running water would be like an artist studio.
Artist studio.
Yeah.
Okay. How are they doing with the rest of the project? Have you been out there?
They haven't started really anything as far as I'm aware. Yeah. No building permit's been issued.
All right. I guess I'm okay with it. Ed?
Yeah, I had the same question, Terry, is that whether or not this was a potential further use beyond storage, and if that was something that would come up in front of the board again in the future if there was some other possible use for the space. But if it's been pre-approved now for a workspace, I don't really see the problem for me either approving them getting this additional basement area.
Thanks, Ed.
Okay.
Board members?
We agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just note that the board was, I think we all remember this property because of the terrain. We were concerned about the amount of development and then specifically the runoff. In this case, it's out of jurisdiction. It feels a bit like death by 1,000 slashes here. But I'm in agreement with Member Berger that we should go ahead and approve this.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I did check there with the planners. There are no egress windows or plan things like that because you start to get concerned about the possibilities here. So I am fine with it as well, Terry and Ed.
Yeah. Tyler, could you just show us where this has nothing to do with, see where the scenic easement is is that noted on here?
I don't see it listed on the survey because it was if I remember correctly, it was a condition of the approval. So it wouldn't have been updated on the survey. Let me see if I can.
Is this a new survey?
It's new to show the cellar entrance, but I don't think they've gone as far as needing any additional information for like a scenic easement or anything like that, as far as submitting it to the county or anything like that. I don't think they've done that work yet.
But they will.
Yeah, it's a condition of approval. They'll have to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good question. Okay, Terry, you want to make a motion?
Oh, okay. Yes, in the for the application of Ellsworth and Diane Erb at 31 Fentwood Road in Montauk, tax map 300-19-1-12. Make a motion to approve this application to be handled administratively.
Second.
I concur.
I concur.
And I concur. Okay, thanks, Terry. Thanks, Tyler. Okay, next we have 320 Old Montauk Highway LLC at 320 Old Montauk Highway, Montauk tax map number 300-88-1-26.4. And Michael Delalio is going to walk us through this. Good evening, Michael.
Good evening, board members. This is 320 Old Montauk Highway in the Hill section of Montauk. You'll notice the property to the west was recently permitted to go administratively in the for some additions as well. So this property is located next door to 316 Old Montauk Highway, and what they are proposing is a redevelopment that will move a number of the structures further away from the natural feature. This area of Montauk, the setbacks are measured from the toe, and all of the structures proposed meet and exceed that. So they're going to demo the existing house, build a new house, demo the existing pool, and surround. They're proposing a new pool, and they have these two pre-existing non-conforming structures on the property. One's a pool house, one's a guest house. Currently, the pool house is located right here. That's going to get relocated north of the pool, nearly out of the board's jurisdiction completely, greater than 100 feet from the bluff crest. And the guest house is going to be located up close to Old Montauk Highway over here. All of the construction is further away than the existing residence over previously cleared areas, and only requires a natural resources special permit in order to be constructed.
And was that a tennis court I saw that they're removing?
There was that required and received ZBA approval in, I was looking at it earlier, some time ago, and that's going to be removed. So there will no longer be a tennis court there. So this tennis court is being removed. Basically, the pool is going to be turned 90 degrees to be oriented more north-south, and then the pool house and guest house are going to be relocated further north to the road.
And the main house there, that's moving back? Also?
It's moving back. So the existing house, this is the closest point in this grayscale here. It's not a great scan of the survey, but here's the grayscale of the existing improvements. And then they're moving it back, so it'll be outside of that. Currently, it's within the setback. It'll be outside of the 125 setback from the toe.
Looks like it's moving back 20 feet.
Just about, yeah.
So we're getting some vegetation where that tennis court was, Michael?
I wouldn't. I mean, that's the area kind of in between the guest house and the
Pool house.
And the pool house. I'm going to guess, they haven't proposed to do any sort of revegetation.
Mhm.
If the board wanted some sort of revegetation, it probably, this area over here may be the most likely. But currently the clearing is pre-existing non-conforming. They're not proposing any change to it. The biggest win on this is that those structures are moving further out of jurisdiction and out of the setback.
And certainly an IA system with this whole thing.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's some improvements.
And it looks like coverage goes way down.
Well, no tennis court.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah, without the tennis court, it'll go down significantly.
Yeah,
from 19 to 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the majority of that's probably the tennis court.
yeah.
Michael, are there any other conditions relative to the bluff that we should know about or should be considering at this time?
Regarding the condition of it currently,
Of it now and whether or not it requires or should be recommended for any additional revegetation along that edge. We can't see exactly what's going on. It's still fairly close.
I mean, this little area, I could talk to them and see if they'd be willing to revegetate the area kind of where the house was. Maybe this, kind of everything kind of south of the the walkway that's here down to the water to improve that. But they aren't proposing anything kind of significant in the area in terms of revegetation. It largely.
That seems like a good ask, Michael. You know, it's, you're taking the house and moving the house is going to be a.
Yeah,
obviously-
I'll speak to Jeffrey, and if that's what the board would like, then that's what we'll, as long as he's okay with it, we'll proceed.
Yeah, I like that idea myself. Terry, Ed, any other comments or board members?
No.
No, I was interested. The reason I asked Michael, I just wanted to know what your own perspective was. You did the field inspection here, and you felt that the vegetation was stable and that the bluff edge was fairly stable, and that any work done in this area was not going to cause significant or potential damage in that area. That's always a concern on all of these.
No, it's pretty well vegetated at the moment from the toe up. I mean, this area of town's always kind of, kind of an amalgam of what's, what was done prior to NRSP regulation. Trying to get these houses off the bluff face and get them further back has always kind of been a bit of a fight. So anything we can do to stabilize it. But, this face here is fairly well vegetated. There are some invasives within it, but it is fairly stable. And there's a significant amount of beach in front of that, in front of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Ask you a silly question. What's a guest house versus an artist studio, or
Well,
the guest house? I assume it is.
I mean, this guest house was constructed prior to a lot of those regulations. I believe the first time it was recorded was, I want to say, in the 60s.
That was pre-existing.
Yeah. So the note here in 71, I believe, the pool house, and it labels it as a one-family residence, but a pre-existing non-conforming. So it's a as much as I would like to not see them there at all, both the pool fence and the pool house and the guest house. Unfortunately, the current interpretation is that, when you have these non-conformities, as long as you're not enlarging them in any way, shape, or form, you are allowed to retain them. So they were just relocating them on the property, not proposing any sort of expansion on it. I had an extensive talk with Ann about it. They're doing some interior renovations, but being that there's no real change in the footprint or the intensity of use, they are legally allowed to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you want to do this one?
Sure. In the matter of.
Everyone's in agreement.
Okay.
Yeah, I am.
Yes, I am.
Sorry about that. In the matter of 320 Old Montauk Highway LLC at 320 Old Montauk Highway, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-88-1-26.4. I make a motion that this application be handled administratively without a hearing.
Second.
Concur.
I concur.
I concur. Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Michael and Terry. Okay. That takes care of the admins. Now we'll move on to our post-hearing decisions. The first one is Conjon 2 LLC at 136 Girard Drive in Springs. And I will read this in, and then this is in Board Member Vice Chair Delene's Springs District, so he can handle it from there. So again, the applicant is Conjon 2 LLC. Lot size and location, 12,000 square feet at 136 Girard Drive, Cape Garden, map number 1192 Springs, tax map number 300-41-1-17. Description: to allow the property to remain over the maximum allowable lot coverage. The relief sought is one variance of 208 square feet is required from 255-11-10 of the town code to allow the lot building coverage to remain 2,608 square feet, where 2,400 square feet is the maximum allowable, and any relief necessary. And the zoning district here is A2, AE flood zone elevation 10, and the secret class is type 2. Roy, you want to take this one from there?
Sure. Board members, if you remember, this is a property where this seeking a variance for total lot coverage, allowable lot coverage. This was a subject of a building permit essentially in 2017, and the applicant has, in my opinion, rightfully stated that it was a simple mistake by everybody, because this was the 2016-2017 was the point in time when the town was changing their lot coverage to include overhangs greater than 2 feet, which really is pushing this this lot coverage over. And I think it just got caught up in that time frame where nobody was catching it yet. Just that being said, if you take a look at the variance, it's a minor, very minor variance. It's 1.73% over the allowable lot coverage. And I think I would recommend that we approve this application based on that. I think it meets the standards. It's not going to affect the neighborhood. I do believe it is self-created. However, it was a simple error on all parts. There was a discussion with the board at the time about the garage, and whether it didn't look like a garage, and it looks more like a habitable space. However, we questioned whether or not there was any running water in it. The applicant has since sent a letter to the board confirming that it does not. And also, maybe we just flag it in our decision that we say that it should be confirmed that there is no running water in that garage, more of a storage area. I mean, the applicant mentioned that it was storage area for surfing equipment and stuff like that. So that being said, I recommend we approve this application.
Thanks, Roy. Who'd like to go next? Ed? Oh, is that on board? Back then? No,
I'll go.
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, so I'm in agreement with Member Daleen. I think the only thing that I would add here is that I think we should, given the fact that it is now over from a clearance standpoint, that we should include in our determination some kind of wording that this is not a candidate for any other variances unless the coverage issues are addressed in the future.
Mm-hmm. Terry?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. A question to Tim, though. You said a clearance issue? Is there a clearing issue on this property too?
I'm sorry, I misspoke.
Okay.
Coverage, I meant to say, so thank
Okay.
you.
All right. No, I'm in agreement. It's, the law was changing at that point in time, and I know there was some allotment by the town board too to give existing applications some leeway, but okay. So it's too bad it happened, but I am in agreement with my fellow board members.
Thanks, Terry. Let's see, Ed was not on board with
No.
this. Right? So I'm in agreement. I agree with you all. Just a quick comment. I like the idea of both of those being written in the determination regarding Roy's point about the garage and Tim's point about coverage. And I'll also just note that the other thing is, as we all know here, this roof overhang is over an existing or over a deck that was permitted that is already part of lot cover, of total coverage. So I'm fine with this as well.
Yeah, the applicant did state it would be troublesome to remove that overhang or lessen it.
Yeah, it's certainly part of the whole building, and it all looks like it's very well built as well, and aesthetically nice too. Council, we good on that?
Yeah, I have everything I need. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, We'll move on next. We have David Picorni.
Hey,
Go ahead. Sure, Tim, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, before we move on from that, did we confirm the survey on that for council? I have it as May 20th, 2019.
Tyler, is that what we were just looking at?
Excuse me. Let me check here. Yeah, May 29th, 2019.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Good.
Okay, all right, good. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Okay,
Tyler, on yours, do you have a stamped received on yours?
No, it's a digital copy. There's no stamp on
Okay.
it.
All right. We'll have to find one that was stamped.
okay, we'll move on to David Picorni is the applicant next, and a lot size and location, 14,742 square feet at 31 Gloucester Avenue, Montauk Beach Development Core Subdivision Number 7, map 1017, Montauk, tax map number 300-19-7-14.1. Description: to demolish all the existing structures and construct a new 2,066 square foot two-story residence with an approximately 516 square feet of first and second story decking and new sanitary system and pervious driveway. And here the relief sought was a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code. And 3 variances are required for this application. Variances of 44 feet and 49.8 feet are required from 255-4-30 of the Town Code. To construct a residence 56 feet and decking 50.2 feet from freshwater wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required. 1 variance of 44.1 feet is required from 255-4-30 of the Town Code to construct a new sanitary system 105.9 feet from freshwater wetlands where 150-foot setback is required and any other relief necessary. This is in a B residence zone. Flood zone is X. Secret class is type 2. And this is in Board Member Berger's Montauk District. Terry, if you would, please.
Okay, if you recall, this was a property, well, you can see it's on the corner of Gloucester and Greenwich Street in Montauk. And this is a reapplication back in 2014. There was a project for an existing one-story house. Let's see, that was for additions of 1,930 feet of additions onto an existing already one-story house, where they were adding half a second story and some other additions on there. That was approved by the ZBA. And then subsequent to that, they didn't act on that at all, but now they came in with this new application. And this application is actually improved on the previous one that was approved. So the residence was going to be 930 feet, and now it is 2,066 feet. The lot coverage is going down from 1,390 to 1032.8, and the total lot coverage is going down from 3,686 to 2,407. The survey on this is dated July 18th, 2020, received in July 21st of 2020. And what it's going to be now is a slightly smaller footprint on the house, but it'll be a full 2 stories. All the variances have been reduced with the placement from the placement of the old house to those listed in the application. The variances will be 44 feet for the main residence and 49.8 for the decking. And somewhere here I had the numbers of what they were. But it will be reduced on that. You can see where it's moving slightly away from the north, which is the main portion of the wetlands, the northern part of this property. And in addition to that, they are offering a revegetation of you can see on there, 1,854 feet of revegetation. Actually, it will come out to be a little bit more than that. The property is currently over cleared And with the 1,854 feet, they would come into conformity. But they also agreed at the hearing, Joe Halsey, who was the agent, that the recommended buffer there had been a consistent 25 feet around. And as you can see, this goes from 25 feet, and then some places it narrows down. At the hearing, the agent did agree to make that kind of a straight line, 25 feet, going all the way around, as recommended by the planning department. There's a new IA system, as is required, and the driveway, which is concrete today, will be made into a pervious driveway of quartz gravel. They're removing the shed, as you see on the survey, and I'm having trouble with my lighting here. See my notes. So the clearing, going back to the clearing existing today is 11,804, and with 10,999 allowed, and it will be that 1,854 plus whatever the other 25-foot buffer adds to it for the rest of that span. I'm looking to approve this application. I think they've done a good job on it, and I think it meets the standards for the NRSP with the additional buffering and the movement of the house slightly away from the wetlands and the footprint being smaller, the pervious driveway, all those factors adding up, and I believe it meets the standards for both NRSP and the variance standards.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Terry, it looks like the concrete parking is going away, correct?
Yes, yeah, that's becoming a pervious gravel
Yeah,
driveway.
it's strange. I agree with you, all your comments myself, but it's strange. There's really no place for these folks to turn around. It's right. They pull in the driveway and have to back out, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know, I guess.
And that's a slope too. That's a slope sloping from.
Yeah, it's a slight grade up. It's
A little slight. It only goes
somewhat,
a few feet. Yeah. Anyway, board members, Roy, you want to take comments, Roy?
Yes, I agree. I really have nothing else to add, except that maybe being that this is an approval, and I know member Terry has already mentioned this, but on top of that, we have the benefit of doing a IA system on top of that from the 2014 approval. So it's an improved application.
Thanks, Roy. Tim?
Yeah, I'm in agreement too. I really don't have anything else to add. I think the redevelopment is thoughtful. The IA system, the change in the driveway, and the additional buffering makes this a real improvement in this property, and I believe it meets the standards.
Thanks, Tim. I have nothing further to add. I agree with you all. Thanks, Terry, for that. Council, we all good?
Yeah, just one comment. We will need an updated survey for that additional revegetation, just to make sure it doesn't get lost. Before.
Okay, we don't have a, Tyler, do we have a planning department sketch?
I didn't see one.
I thought there was one attached somewhere. Let me see if I can find it in my.
If you have one, we can reference that without having to update the survey.
Right. Let me.
Well, we would need that updated too, right, to reflect the 25-foot buffer. At the part right now on the survey we're looking at, it narrows down to about 10 feet. And Joel agreed to make it a consistent 25 feet.
Right, right. A lot of times if it's a buffer that's not part of a CNR, so it would need to be in if there was a buffer reference, we would just have to have some documentation of it. So it could either be, we've done it with sketches from the planning department, and we've also done it with updating the. So we could actually, I can write it either that they can do one or the other. If we find one, if Tyler has one and sends it to me, I can reference that. If there isn't one, we can do it by an updated survey.
Okay, but if Tyler has one, it may not reflect that 25 foot all the way around.
Well, I'm asking is if he has one that
If he
reflects
has
that.
it, yeah, I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't see it in my
Yeah.
electronic folder at least.
Okay,
But yeah, either that or it could just be a re-veg plan approved prior to a building permit,
yep,
Yeah, that's even a better idea. Yeah.
yep.
rather than
Okay.
going back to the
As
surveyor.
long as
again.
it's all the re-veg.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. We'll look at it obviously before we approve.
Before the
everything.
letter goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You good, Terry?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on. Next, we have the applicant here. I'll read this in. This is another, Terry's keeping busy tonight. This is another Montauk. The applicant is Martin Pedersen. No, I'm sorry, am I in the right order here? Let's see.
Yeah, you are.
Yes, I am, yeah. Okay, the applicant is Martin Pedersen. Lot size and location, 46,501 square feet total at 124 Navy Road, Montauk. Tax map number 300-26-1-12. Description: to reconstruct approximately 15 linear feet of eastern bulkhead return, allow approximately 622 square feet of slate patios, walkways to remain, and allow a total of 850 square feet of decks and landings constructed without permits to remain on a parcel of land containing coastal bluffs, beaches, and tidal wetlands. Relief sought as a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-20 and variances from 255-4-30 minimum wetland setbacks, 255-4-40 coastal setbacks, and 255-11-10 table of dimensional regulations of the town code, and any other relief necessary. A 21.6 foot variance is required to allow the closest of the slate to remain 53.4 feet from the bluff crest where a 75-foot setback is required. And an 8.3 foot variance is required to allow the slate to remain 11.7 feet from the western side yard lot line where a 20-foot setback is required. Variances of 75 feet and 70 feet are required to allow the decking to remain seaward of the bluff crest where a 75-foot setback is required, and 30 feet from wetlands where a 100-foot setback is required. This is A residence zone, VE velocity of flood zone, elevation 14, and X flood zone. Secret class is type 2. Terry? Excuse me. Terry, you ready?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, we thought you
I
gave.
thought I was, well, I'm looking for, I misplaced the submission that the applicant gave us after the hearing, but basically I remember the gist of it. I don't know where I.
Tyler might be able
But,
to.
yeah, anyway, okay. So the basic project is for the return for the bulkhead on the eastern side of the property, as it shows there, and for some variances for the slate walkway up near the main house that leads to the garage, and from Bluff Crest, variances for that. And then we got into a discussion, if everyone recalls, of the stairs and the platforms on the steps going down to the water. This was done without, not all, but this was done without permits previously, back somewhere around, I believe, 1989. And I'm going to start with the easy ones. Back here by the house, you see there's a slight variance toward the side yard on the western side, which actually is a part of the flagged driveway at that point with the next door neighbor. It's minor variance of, I believe it was 10 feet. Yeah, 20 feet, 8.3 feet for that variance. And then on the other side of the house, it's 53.8, I believe, feet from the bluff crest. Neither of those, I feel, is, I think they meet the variance standards. There are no houses near there. They don't disrupt anything. They actually add some safety to the walkway from the house down to the garage. There were a number of steps, and I believe it meets the variance standards. And so I'm looking to approve both of those. And also, ultimately, I'm looking to approve the bulkhead return repair. It's a necessary repair. And as we saw in the planning memos and Brian's testimony, the applicant has accepted a change in the orientation, slight orientation of the return that Brian felt would help improve the bulkhead lasting and performing its job from the bluff and deterioration of the bluff. And the applicant was accepted that. And then we got onto a major discussion on the steps. Well, there's a number of things, the steps and then access to the project down at the shoreline. But we'll get to the steps now. The top platform there is called platform number 1. I'm having trouble with my lighting here in the house. I got to do something about that. But anyway, landing number 1, they're going to be removing that deck. And, oh, thank you. That's much better. Okay. They're going to be removing that deck right now. You see it's 60.5 square feet, and they've agreed to a 4 square foot deck to do that lead down toward the water. Landing number 2 was a landing that's in question. It's a small landing, but the problem is there's a 2 square foot bench on this landing, which is in question. They requested that they asked to keep it because the owner of the property is older and can rest on the way. But they were open to, if we say, when this goes against our policy to have a bench on a landing like this on the stairs, that they would remove it. And then landing number 3 also is slightly over, but in the discussions we had at the hearing, planning thought that it might be more problematic to remove that slight change in that, and that it's probably better left as is. The other portion of our discussion is for this 8.3 portion of the bulkhead. There is nothing that was on the GISs or in the historic photos that indicated that it even existed. Yet the applicant insists that it does. And after the hearing, as promised by the agent, we did get an affidavit signed by the owner, Martin Peterson, that it was there. So I don't know what legal weight that carries, but he says it was there. There's no real evidence. And although going back to the old surveys, back in the old days, I guess, it's hard to discern some of the specifics on some of the overheads that Brian Frank had pulled up. So questions came up about access, and there was some discussion as to how they're going to do this. And initially, at the time of the hearing, it was suggested that they may have to bring this in via the materials in via barge. Subsequent to that, as requested by us, and I now found the letter, they submitted from Due East Planning a letter about the bulkhead return and how Keith Grimes Incorporated reviewed the proposal, and they said that they could not get a barge in close enough to complete the project, and portions of the access route are under private ownership, and they will obtain their permission prior to commencement. That their recommendation is that they want to come across the beach. I'm not exactly sure where that starts. It may be at part of the town beach and then traversing across a few private properties. And legally, I don't know. I guess was going to ask council, is there any issue with us giving approval? We're not approving that they can go across the private access if we approve this?
No, we can't give approval, and there can be language in there with regards to, it's, the approval is contingent upon obtaining any and all permissions, access, permission necessary to effectuate their construction protocol. So
Okay.
it's on them to get the permissions to do that.
Okay,
And without
All right.
that, they can't do it.
okay, and if part of that is for the town, what town permissions would they need to get?
It depending on, that they may have to get the town board to allow for access on the beach. And if they can petition the town board for a resolution giving them access. But ZBA giving them approval of this construction protocol is not the town giving permission.
I mean, we would use wording like any and all permission or any and all,
Right.
right? So. I
That
agree
they
with
need to get. I mean, we're not giving them permission for the access.
Anybody.
No, and I can even put language in there that the ZBA's approval of this project in no way can be deemed to be giving approval for access on any town properties in order to effectuate this.
Okay,
Thanks,
all
Nancy.
right. So I think the bulkhead repair needs to be approved. And the access and the construction protocols, as stated in their letter, they feel that the building department will be taking, overseeing that and approving the construction protocols that they have. And the constructions. Now, my opinion is that on landing 2, we should have them remove the bench. And iffy on the additional 8.3 feet on the bulkhead. We have the affidavit.
If I may, Member Berger,
Yeah.
if you're concerned about the pre-existing, you could leave in the approval that it can remain if they're able to establish the pre-existing nature of it through the building inspector. That is her role many times, to determine if things are pre-existing and if they pre-exist at a certain date. So you could, leave it that it can, if they're able to establish that to the satisfaction of the building inspector, then it may remain. Otherwise, it needs to be removed. You could use some language in that towards that.
I like that. And what else? So therefore, I'm looking to approve the project overall, and with those changes. There was a discussion also that the chair brought up about possibly revegetating at the top of the bluff over near where the staircase is, I believe. And they did not address that in their subsequent letters to us. So I know the Shannon was going to run that by the applicant and ask if they were okay with that or not. So I know if we can ask for some buffers. I mean, I do believe there's a nexus if we're, possibly allowing the bulkhead. Well, but I'd like to know how my fellow board members feel. But basically, that's it about the stairs.
Terry, I'll just jump in. It's John for a second. I think you meant to clarify on landing number 1, you said 4 square feet, but I think you meant it's meant to be no more than 4 feet wide, because 4 square feet would just be like 2 foot by 2 foot. That doesn't.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's right. Just
Testimony on.
And then to be clear, you were referencing the 8.3 down by the bulkhead, which is at elevation, and you're talking about the part of the deck 154 square feet, correct? When you mentioned the 8.3.
Yeah, I think so. The western
Yeah.
addition.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yes, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
The western bulkhead.
Yeah. Go ahead. Roy, you want to take a stab at this?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Member Berger. I think landing 1 has to conform. Landing 2 needs to conform. I think landing 3 is okay, but I mean, it's making that transition elbow, if you will.
Right.
So I do think that as a matter of precedent, I don't think we can approve larger landings than what the town code requires. So I would agree with that assessment.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Tim?
Yeah, and compliments to Member Berger for a very thorough dissection of the entire project. That was terrific. I agree completely with both of my fellow board members on this. And I really appreciate council's suggestion on the pre-existing portion of the deck. I think that makes all kinds of sense as well.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, I agree.
With Tim agreeing on that, yes.
Yeah, I agree with you all completely. And thanks for being so thorough there, Terry. And I think you're right. I think that's a good way to handle that. It was very unclear whether or not that 154 square foot deck was there or not. So I think that's a great way to handle it. So I have no further comments.
And I think, who's doing the drawings? Is this Tyler or Brian?
Brian's not here. You mean?
Brian's not here. Tyler's covered.
That's me.
Michael and
Oh,
Tyler.
so it's Tyler?
Yeah.
Thank you. I like this, Tyler, when you have all those nice little numbers. I love that feature.
Oh, he didn't do that. The surveyor did that. Yeah.
What?
Right.
I'll take credit for it.
Oh, okay.
Those were done by the surveyor, I imagine.
Yeah.
But they are very helpful for sure.
Oh, okay. That's the surveyor drawing? All right.
Yeah.
Well, nice job pointing it out, Tyler.
Yeah, exactly. Council, we good on that?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna put this down as approval on the bulkhead, approval on the variances, and approval on the stairway and landings as specified, and get there so that it'll go in as an approval, but it will, what is approved will be slightly different than what they requested.
Okay, approval on the landings
As revised.
as revised, yeah, the
As
2-foot
revised,
bench.
right. So it's revised, but
Yeah.
they're getting approval, but it's not, I can word it as partial,
Staircase, but yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanted to get clarification. Do you want a condition on here for some revegetation at the top of the bluff?
I think it can't hurt. I would like it. I mean,
Yeah, I'm glad I want
the
to.
staircase and nothing was done by permit previously, so I would think that's somewhat of a nexus to ask for some re-veg.
I actually would have, I don't know, this is going backwards, but I would actually be fine leaving the lower bulkhead because it may or may not, it very easily may have been there, and going for a continuous 10-foot buffer along the bluff, but I don't know how you others feel about that.
I like council's suggestion better, conditioning it on some determination that it actually existed.
Yeah, I know so as far as board members, how do we want to handle this bluff crest re-veg? How do you all feel on this, Tim and Roy?
I would be fine. You mentioned a 10-foot, I believe, and I would be fine with a 10-foot re-veg. I mean, I'm always looking to protect the top of the bluff.
Yeah, it just makes sense. Tim?
Yeah, I agree as well. I mean, that's the feature we're looking to protect here.
Yeah.
We're approving a lot of things here that were done without a building permit. So I do think there's a nexus for us to ask for some mitigation associated with the improvements.
Yeah. Good. I agree. Terry, you good with that too? We all on the same page here?
Yes, we are.
Okay, excellent. Council, you good?
I'm good now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'll move on to our final one here. The applicants are Audrey and Daniel Talmadge. And the lot size and location is 11,709 square feet at 61 3 Mile Harbor Road in East Hampton, tax map number 300-161-1-16. Description: to construct a 22.2 square foot addition within side yard, lot line setbacks, and outside of the town's pyramid regulations. The relief sought: one variance of 2.75 feet is required from 255-11-10 of the town code to construct the addition 6.7 feet from the side yard lot line where 9.45 setback is required. One variance from 255-11-72D of the town code is to allow the addition to extend approximately 4 feet beyond the town's pyramid height restrictions along the southern lot line and any other relief necessary. Excuse me. This is in a residence zone, and the flood zone is X, secret class is type 2. And this is in board member Brenneman's East Hampton district. Tim, if you could, please.
Sure. So we heard this on October 6th, and I believe the survey that we have up there is dated February 27, 2020, and that was the most current survey and what we're working from. This is a project that's being done by applicants that have owned this property since the 1960s. It's a pre-existing non-conforming property. We have copies of a 1962 aerial, which show the house in the same place. It's also interesting to note that the position of homes along this stretch of 3 Mile Harbor are such that the home to the immediate north of this property is located either 5.4 or 4 feet from the northern property line. And then this house is, as maybe as a result, or maybe because the lines were drawn differently, I don't know back then, but this one is very close to the northern property line. I'm sorry, the opposite, the southern property line. Mm-hmm. So this is this applicant is seeking to relocate their washer and dryer from the basement up to the first floor. And they are asking to build a 3 foot by 7 foot 4 inch addition to be able to accomplish that. It requires, as noted, a side yard variance as well as a pyramid variance as a result. There is screening along the southern part of this, so to the south of the driveway and along the property line is a row of, I believe what they were was rows of Sharon shrubbery that runs along there. They have, that screening is already in place. We also have a letter from the neighbor indicating that they are okay with this addition. The board did question the positioning of this addition and whether or not the applicant had considered either the west or the northern parts. And they had, they ruled out the northern because of the amount of plumbing that was required to get the washer dryer over there. And the southern portion, they made note of the cesspool being in the back of the property and their concerns that that might impact it. The planning department has recommended that should we approve this, that we covenant that the applicant would continue to maintain the screening that's in existence to mitigate the impact. So in the end, I think this meets the standards. It's ultimately a very, very modest addition. as noted earlier, 3 feet by 7.4 feet. We have an applicant who's owned this property since the 1960s. The lot is pre-existing non-conforming. The neighbor feels that it's adequate screening. And I do believe we addressed some of the alternatives in the hearing. And so I would be looking to approve this with a covenant and restriction to maintain the screening.
Thank you, Tim. Terry?
I really don't have many additional comments. I believe part of our discussion was that as far as relocating that to the other side of the house, I believe this is the side where they said the plumbing was in place and negated to replumb somewhere else on the other side. And other than that, I'm in agreement with Brenneman that I think it's a project that we're looking to improve. It gets the access for the washer dryer out of the basement. The second one we've had in the last year, I think. And I too am looking to approve it.
Okay, thanks, Terry. Roy?
The neighbor, I'm sorry, that neighbor that wrote the letter. We had 2 letters. One had an address. Is that the house right next door, you said? Walter Thomason, 57 3 Mile Harbor.
That's what my note had indicated, Terry.
Yeah. There was another letter too from a Mary Cullum, but I don't know what she didn't have her address on it. Also approving. But, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. Roy?
Yeah, the only thing I don't know if it was mentioned, but on this side of the property, there is a driveway easement that is going to a lot behind this property. So the driveway even travels the whole length. And the reason I bring that up is it kind of helps the case for the small pyramid variance that they're asking for, in my opinion. That driveway, there'd be no house that'll be affected that close and be affected. So it doesn't affect the neighborhood. That's why I'm bringing that up.
Yeah, thanks, Roy. Just 2 comments. Yeah, I think again here, the benefit of the applicant here comes into place with older people not wanting to climb up and down basement stairs for their laundry, and as well the driveway. And also, if you look at the architecture plans, that it's tastefully done where it's basically the same roof slope that just continues down and the fascia boards wrap around. So it really fits right into the existing building nicely. So I'm fine, and thanks, Tim, for your thorough analysis there. I approve. I'm leaning to approve this completely as well. Council, that good? Are you good with that? Okay. Okay, now we'll move on next to interpretations. We have Nigel Curtis at 393 Cranberry Hill Road in Amagansett, tax map number 300-1-8.
Not an interpretation.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's under decisions. I beg your pardon, under D, under decisions. And Council, would you like to introduce the issue here with Nigel Curtis, please?
As the board will recall, we're in the middle of doing the secret evaluation on Nigel Curtis. We received the draft EIS. We have 45 days in order to let the applicant know whether or not the draft EIS is acceptable. The 45 days comes due during the time period between our last meeting in December before our first meeting in January. So I've reached out to New York State DEC, and they will allow us just to put on the record that we're taking more than 45 days because of the way that the schedule goes with the holiday schedule, and that we are extending the 45-day deadline into a date certain. So we're talking about doing it for I don't have my calendar in front of me. Our second, we're going to have it on our agenda on our first meeting on the 12th of January. And our deadline, we're extending our deadline until January 19th, and we'll have a decision. DEC said there was no problem with this if the board was made a finding that it was a need to do this. that circumstances required it, and we gave notice. So if the board is agreeable to this, we will draft a letter to send to the applicant to let them know that they will have an answer by our new deadline of January 19th as to whether or not their draft EIS is acceptable or not.
Okay, thank you, Nancy Lynn.
Is the board agreeable with that, or do you have any questions, or do you have difficulty?
Our answer to them.
Excuse me?
That's our answer to them.
We're discussing it on the 12th.
Discussing it on the 12th with a final determination whether the draft EIS is acceptable on the 19th.
And I imagine before the 12th, we will probably have a memo from Brian Frank and the planning department.
He intends to get that all to you before the end of the year, so you'll have plenty of time to look it over. So there can be a discussion on the 12th, and then if there's any additional information or however you want that, that way on the 19th, myself and Brian will try to reduce your thoughts into a written response. In case it's not a yay, it's all good. If there are any statements that the board needs to make, the applicant with regards to any deficiencies, there'll be time for you to see a draft and approve that draft by our deadline.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Tim?
Okay, you good with that? All right, so
Ed,
Yes, I'm fine.
Eric needs a sip of water or something.
Yeah.
Ed, you good with that?
I'm good with it, thank you.
Great, I am as well. Thanks, Nancy Lynn, for
all right, so I'll draft a letter from you, Chair, to the
Great.
applicant with regards to just notifying them of the new deadline.
Thank you. Thanks, Nancy Lynn.
Yep.
Okay. Next, we skip down. We have quite a few extensions of time here, so we'll get going. The first one is Carilli and McIntyre at 30 North Surfside Avenue in Montauk, tax map number 300-29-1-18.8. And Tyler is covering this for Brian Frank. Tyler, do you want to touch in on this a little bit here, or?
Sure. I don't know if I need to bring up. Sure. I don't know if I need to bring up Brian's memo.
Yeah.
You should all have a copy either way.
Yeah.
Essentially, when he did a field visit, he noticed that some of the project limiting fencing was down. It looked like there was some sedimentation of the wetlands because of the project limiting fencing being down. And so he is suggesting that we work on a sort of remediation plan before moving forward with extending the application. So we can get that fixed. The applicant is aware of it, and they're okay with the idea of fixing the issues, obviously. So the suggestion is that we hold off on this, table it for another day until we get that remediation plan in, and then we can move forward.
Yep.
Chair, if I may,
Sure, please. Yep.
to share with the board, this comes up from time to time when there's a application comes in for an extension of time, planning goes out and becomes aware of certain issues on the property. Trying to find a manner in which to address this in kind of a uniform manner and in fairness. So it was suggested today during our organizational meeting that perhaps it would be best if in these situations we table it with a letter to the applicant stating that, the board is in receipt of your application for an extension of time. The planning department has found issues on the property, and at this point, because of those issues, would be recommending a denial of that extension of time. Would you like us, would you like to have some time to address those issues or respond to those issues prior to the board making its decision, and table it to give them an opportunity to respond? Not forever, obviously, but give them maybe, 2 to 3 weeks to respond. And in that manner, hopefully it will encourage compliance and encourage them to consensually work out a remediation plan with the planning department so that the planning department, when it's ready to come back, can recommend an extension of time based on the fact that there's remediation that's worked out. In the alternative, we've done what in the past have denied the extension of time, which voids out the determination. And then when they want to come into compliance, we're in a situation where there is no determination to extend.
Right.
So they either have to do a new application, or the board has to rescind their revocation, and that's kind of an awkward situation to go forward on. So that's what we're looking at as a possible way to address these situations that come up when the planning department is just, they're not faced with a little bit different when it's a certificate of occupancy and have they complied with all the conditions. It's more of, no, we're just looking to extend our approval and issues come up.
Well, thank you, Nancy Lynn, for that summary. Appreciate that. Yes, and it seems like this might be a good modus operandi as far as moving forward in similar situations. And we have one that's a lot more, shall I say, egregious coming later on this evening that we'll discuss as well.
So on this one, what are you going, what are we gonna?
Well, the idea would be here to table. So the idea is
We're gonna table this.
table it
Okay,
until they, and then we'll, Nancy Lynn, the planning department will work on a letter on my behalf to go to the applicant, and then they already have discussed this with Brian, and they plan on coming back with a remediation plan to deal with this. And then once that's been, Brian's comfortable with that, he would put this back on the table. That remediation plan would be in the file so that before C of O would be issued, that remediation plan would have to be fulfilled. Does that make sense?
okay. Yeah, now they did send a letter. The only thing they did not address that I see is the removal of the sediment.
Yeah, they'll be addressing everything.
But they'll be addressing that also.
Everything, yeah.
So in this case, we know that they'd like to address it and want time to address it. We just wanted to kind of set up a procedure to handle these going forward.
Exactly. Board members, are you all good with tabling this for that reason?
I am.
I am too.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a smart approach. I mean, properties are going to change sometimes during the course of these extensions, and it changes the conditions on the property. And I think it a very fair and reasonable approach that we're taking here.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, board members. Okay, we will move on to the next extension, and that is Promise Productions LLC, excuse me, at 8 Bay Inlet Road in Springs, Suffolk County.
Man is next on the agenda.
Oh, did I miss one?
Yeah,
Man has been taken off.
man was taken off.
Well,
Yeah, Promise is next.
Yeah, I promise on the current one is number 2. So this is again, Promise Productions LLC, 8 Bay
Okay,
Inlet Road.
was this agenda updated today?
Yes.
It was updated. Man was taken off last week.
And
No, Mansley was taken off last week.
Man is on.
Man should still be on. Yeah, I think it's
Man
last.
is
though.
Is on last, but
Yeah,
there were
Man.
2 that were very similar names. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the only change was Nigel Curtis got dropped on this agenda. So getting back to it. So here we are at 8 Bay Inlet Road, Springs, tax map number 300-23-01-19. And board members, you remember Eleni's thorough analysis on this. I don't know if Eleni is here with us this evening. I should know.
So-
She's not. I can handle it. Though.
Thanks, Tyler, if you would.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's nothing outstanding about it. We don't have any issues with the issuance of an extension of time. There's some things she's still looking to do for when they go for a CO, but that doesn't stop them from getting an extension of time in order to get a CO.
Right. I think, as you said, Tyler, all the re-veg has been good. It's just a matter of kind of coming up with the re-veg plan and double checking some of that, correct?
Right. Yeah. She would just have to double check some things when she goes to inspect it for a CO, which she wasn't there to do when she did it for an extension of time. So.
Thank you. So Roy, this is in your district. Are you
Sure.
good with this, Roy?
Yes, and just to reinforce too, the construction is complete and they are
Yep.
going through. Most everything looks like it's in compliance as per Eleni's memo. So,
Yep.
yeah, I want to make a motion to approve the extension of time for Promise Productions LLC at 8 Bay Inlet Road, Springs, of a tax map
Right.
number.
Right.
Yes.
I thought we don't do motions.
You don't need to do a motion.
Oh, yeah.
So
I know, we're messing with
We
you.
write them up.
We write them up now, and
I get it. You're right.
I'll
You're
have
right.
that ready for you for next week, and so you can just adopt the resolution as written.
So
next-
I'm preempting my motion.
You,
No motion. No
you'll be
motion.
able to do it just for your birthday, Roy. We'll let you do it next.
Oh, we got a birthday next week, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So it sounds like we're all in favor with this, correct?
Yep.
The whole board?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Roy. Okay, now we'll move on to Megron at 45 South Euclid Avenue in Montauk, tax map number 300-49-3-16. And Michael, you want to touch in on this briefly?
Yeah, so this is kind of a joint application between that also required planning board approval. As part of that, they received variances from the zoning board to allow the 3 of the 7 parking spaces to be off the site. It's still currently vacant. It looks like they have kind of gone through and preemptively received sign-offs from other appropriate departments. But they're really, we really don't have an objection to the extension of time on this. There really are no conditions prior to the issuance of a CO or a BP with regard to this application.
What was the original date of this one? This one's ancient. right?
2006.
2006. Okay, just a comment. I know on Eleni's memo, it showed that there was activity in 2020, the fire department and some other items. If you recall, whoever was here, last year we were going to deny the extension of time because they did absolutely nothing on the property. And it was only when I believe Beth at the time contacted the agent and we were told that they were moving forward. So I'll take that little activity as going forward, but that I don't know, this extension of time, we'll approve it for another year and see if they make any progress.
Yep. Sounds good, Terry. Ed?
Yeah, I'm, this is a new one for me. I was not here last year, obviously, when you were discussing the last year's approval. But I have no objection to approving it at this point.
Thank you. Tim and Roy?
I'm good.
Yep, I concur as well.
Yeah, and I concur as well. It looks like they're moving forward. As Terry says, we'll see what happens.
Well,
next year.
they promised that last year too.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Okay. So next, we have Demarche at 15 Island Road in East Hampton, tax map number 300-93-3-9. And this has to do with the CO request. And Tyler, I believe, you're going to walk us through this, if you would, please.
I've got it, John.
Oh, Michael. Sorry, Michael. I beg your pardon, Michael. You did all the work. My apologies.
All right. So this one's a little bit more involved than the others. So this came in as an extension of time as well as a inspection for a certificate of occupancy. There are a number of issues noted in the write-up with the property. Namely, the clearing is a big one. Structures the board didn't approve, another. So here is the what the board approved. The application was for some decking along the rear and side. And you just take note of the edge of clearing along here on the property. The board approved approximately, I believe it was around 16,000 square feet of clearing, 16,240 square feet of clearing. Most of it was pre-existing non-conforming. They supplied us with a survey that is a kind of a conglomerate of the 3 surrounding properties. They're all under the the same family name, though not the specific family member that's associated with this one. There's also, some more decking than was approved, the pavers. This is also the last remnants of the vegetation that was on the lot. They haven't given us clearing numbers. We estimate that it's somewhat, they're currently cleared now to somewhere around 20,000 square feet. So it's probably somewhere between 3,500 and 4,000 square feet of revegetation that need to happen through some form of a remediation plan or potentially a new application. There are other issues that I pointed out with regard to the neighboring properties. I just kind of want to make the board aware of them. Unfortunately, the only one that, the board really has any, kind of their sights on is this particular property that was in front of the board in the original determination. And that's really kind of a quick synopsis of what's going on. Our recommendation is to not extend the permit, to not issue the certificate of occupancy, or at least, in our talk today, we'll turn to tabling the extension of time, give them time to come up with some form of a remediation plan, figure out if there's any and all structures that they want to retain that may come in as a new application, and kind of give them some time to react to this. But as it stands right now, the planning department does not recommend issuing the CO or extending the permit as the parcel stands now.
Thank you. Thanks, Michael. My apologies. Thanks for all the work you've done on this already. Tim?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Michael's assessment here. Island Road is off of Oyster Shores. So this property is very, very close to 3 Mile Harbor. Clearing matters. And so the conditions here have changed pretty significantly. And so I think a very prudent course of action here.
Thank you, Tim. Roy?
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly.
Thank you. Terry?
Yes, likewise.
Thanks. Ed?
Any indication they're going to be cooperative?
I briefly spoke to the agent who submitted the CO and extension of time and relayed some of the conditions and the concerns that we had. But she still had to speak to the homeowner about it, but she was putting it on their radar.
Thank you. And Ed, Ed, I want to make one other comment. Again, I think we all feel we do not want these things to be open-ended. And so Councilwoman, with these letters, as you say, maybe we think about a timeline to get a response back into the record, so that this just doesn't go on and on. I'm sure you all agree with that. And Council, do you want to recommend? Do you have a recommendation, or do board members want to discuss how much time we give these folks to respond to the letter?
2 weeks.
Yeah, generally 2 weeks is pretty good because that will get us close to the next work session that it can be on. I mean, we do one work session a month, and that way they'll have time to get a response in, and to at least know when it's whether or not they're even interested in addressing it.
Right.
In the next work session. And if they don't respond within the 2 weeks, or say that they do want to work with the planning department to come up with a solution, then it can go right back on the next work session agenda to be considered possibly for a denial.
Right. Thank you. So I agree, but I could see when the letter goes out and they write back and say, yes, we would like to try to work with the planning department. It seems like there again, we will want some sort of a.
Yeah. There'll be a time frame that, I mean, it can't be open-ended because
Right.
it can only be tabled for a few months, especially since if the determination is not extended, it does, at some point is considered to have expired. So even if it's not voided by a resolution, they can't get anything from the building department because it's an expired determination.
Right. And then it would go to code
And
enforcement.
then it goes to enforcement, correct?
Right.
It can go to enforcement, yes.
Right. Yeah. This goes back, Michael, this goes back to what, 2006 is application?
Original determination 9/13/05.
Yeah, it's a long time. That's 15 years. Yeah, so, and all this has happened. Okay, and it sounds like we're all in agreement, board members?
Yeah,
I'd just like to ask one question of Michael, and that is, in your memo, you mentioned that the 3 lots are owned in the same family name, but by 3 different individuals, the ones we're looking at here in the photo, and that they're not legally melded. But are the lots being treated as one property by the homeowner on the property that we're considering here? Is clearing all part of?
What the homeowner's doing, I can't speak to. As far as the town, we do not consider these merged. They meet zoning. They're in separate ownership. There are some issues on the other 2 lots, also involving clearing. How the homeowner is treating it, I can't.
but wow, that's a really good point, Ed. I mean, that those empty lots, if the clearing exceeds the allowable without a principal structure, that's a violation.
They would need a building permit in order to clear, and they have not done that. Those are, if the board wants to make the referral to code enforcement, they could.
Yeah, it sounds like this is going to be something that it's going to take some working out, because for all those reasons. Thanks.
Let's see what they come back to.
Yeah, I think we have to take it one step, and we're not going to just let this thing go on and on. It's been 15 years. Again, Michael, thanks for all your work on this.
No worries. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have Mann at 30 Maidstone Drive in Amagansett. And this is at tax map number 300-174-4-25. And Tyler, if you would, please walk us through this a bit, if you would.
Sure. This is another one where a building permit was already issued on it, and they're going for a CO. We don't have any issues with it. It doesn't look like there's anything to be concerned with. It's fairly straightforward extension of time.
Thank you, Tyler.
This was an original determination back in 2013, right?
2013 or 2012. I can't remember the exact date.
Okay, filed in 2013, January.
Yes. Yep. Approved. January 9th, 2013. Yes.
Right. So I reviewed this, and this is in my Amagansett district, so I'm fine with this extension so that they can get the C of O. Board members, comments?
Yeah, no problem.
I'm good.
I have no problem.
Okay, sounds good. I have read the minutes of November 17th. They're well done. I had one quick comment, a little typo perhaps. I think it was on 360 OMH, and it mentioned that I had made the motion, and I'm sure it being in Montauk, it was Terry who made the motion. That's the only thing that popped out to me, but otherwise the minutes looked fine to me. So can I have a motion to approve with the correction, the draft minutes for November 17th, 2020?
I'll make that motion, and at the same time, compliment Kyle. I thought they were very detailed minutes, so thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll second it.
Second, concur.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Tim, and thanks, Kyle. Council, do you have any more business with us?
I do not. We have one more meeting before the end of the year, and we are in good shape to get the outstanding resolutions that need to be adopted done for that meeting.
And rumor has it that
business for the year, and then look forward to starting all anew in January.
And I believe rumor has it that silly sweaters are a must or something like that.
Silly, or at least Christmas sweaters. We need to be dressed for the season and to be celebratory with Vice Chair Delaney.
Leading it off. Great. Okay. Well, thanks to LTV, the planning department, Nancy Lynn, and you all. Vice Chair, I think we just need one motion from you.
Sure. Therefore, I would like to make a motion to close the work session of the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals for Tuesday, December 8th at 7:54 p.m.
Second,
Concur.
I concur.
And I concur as well. Thanks you all. Have a good week.
Thank
All right.
you. Good night.
I thank
All
you.
right.